Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode 911. Talking Buffalo, 911. Shout out 911 Tavern. Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. I'm your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you very much, as always, for watching and for listening, for following and subscribing. You guys are the best. Appreciate y'all very, very much. If you happen to be watching us on the video side, we are live tonight here very late on a Wednesday night. This is the Podbag episode. This is the episode where you control the narrative, the topics, your questions, your comments, your takes. I feature them on the show. Usually I do this solo, but I wanted to change it up this week. He's usually with me for the Bills.
Why'd you want to change it up this week? What happened? Did you have like a bad day? Did you lose confidence? Did you shit the bed like the Yankees are? Like, what happened, buddy?
I just it's boring. Doing a pod bag by yourself could be boring. You know, just one take, one opinion or whatever. So you, if nothing else, are definitely full of opinions. You don't know the questions, by the way. Joe has no idea.
You look like
for those who are
somehow.
listening, for those who are actually listening to the show and not watching, Joe from Queens is with me. Again, this is the pod bag episode. Joe's having a beer. What are you having a beer of? What's the beer choice tonight?
I've had this before a couple different times. This is a Omegang watermelon Kolsch, which it's been out for a while. It's the last one I have in the fridge. I've had it since like spring, so
okay.
Hopefully it's still good. I haven't, unlike you, who you're a drunk and an alcoholic. You should go to AA, I think. I'm not, so I don't drink as much as I should. So I'm kind of envious of your liver, I guess, or whatever. So, but yeah. Anyways,
happy Halloween to everybody out there. By the way, it is.
You hate? Wait! Don't you hate Halloween?
It's the worst.
Oh, you're a fucking fuck this pot. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not giving you shit. Dude, it's the best holiday. It's the best holiday. Like, you know what? I feel like we had this argument.
If you're like 11 years old or younger, it should be the best holiday.
We had this argument, I think, last year. It's all 2 years ago, because it's all coming back to me now. Because you and Geary fucking have the same place. First off, it's awesome as a kid. You get free candy. It's great. Second, if you're an adult, you get to dress up. I remember being in college. I said this all the time. I'll say it again. Girls in nurse outfits, hot. Like, what's wrong with you with this? Okay, like, and there's more alcohol, contests, food, like candy. Like, you come on. What is wrong with you? What happened to you? Did your parents get you a fucking
It was a kid's holiday. I grew up it's a kid's holiday. Kids should be wearing costumes. Kids go out, they get
Christmas
candy.
is a kid's holiday.
If you want to be an adult, you want to dress up and go to parties.
Is a kid's holiday.
I don't hate
Santa
on that.
The Santa's around it.
I hate on people who care about their own adult parties more than their kids. They'll spend all the money on their costumes and do their parties, and then they'll throw their kid in a bed sheet. Or
who is this? That sounds like something you just made up and you saw it on Facebook one day. The Tone Pucks do that once. Like, did he dress up as a fucking Tin Man and had his kids as Toto? What is going on? This is bullshit already. Like,
I have a lot of Bills stuff to get to, and a variety of other things.
I'd rather talk about Halloween because this is ridiculous.
I've had enough of Halloween. But if you enjoy Halloween and you're listening to this on Halloween,
you hate Halloween, and you said a happy Halloween. You're such a fraud. Fraud, Pat. Okay.
I am. All right. So tomorrow's show, Bills Dolphins preview. I had a guest with me, Finsiders. He writes for the Miami Dolphins. His name is Merrick Brave. I'll tell you what, too, by the way, real quick, fun story here. I know you're a wrestling guy. So Merrick Brave writes for SB Nation Finsiders. I decided this is the week, instead of doing a Podbag solo or Bills Dolphins preview solo, I wanted to have guests. So, and you kind of been bothering me about that. I actually think you were right to get a guest who covers that other team. So anyway, it was a really fun conversation. He had a lot of interesting things to say, especially about Mike McDaniel. We already recorded it for Friday.
I can't believe you gave me credit for an idea. That has never happened, even though I give you ideas all the time and you steal them and you don't tell me. And yeah,
there's an interesting anecdote about Merrick Brave that you would be interested in.
Sure.
He's been a professional wrestler on the independent scene for 21 years.
Oh, wow.
And he's the co-owner of a wrestling academy, and his business partner is somebody you might have heard of, Seth Rollins.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, he's Seth's guy. Him and Seth are partners for the
in
Wrestling
Idaho.
Academy.
It's the
Iowa.
one in Iowa, because that's where Seth Rollins lives. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yep.
I knew he had a wrestling school.
Yep.
Which is so random, like because Seth Rollins is in Iowa. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
but Iowa.
yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
one of
Nice.
I guess that new WWE ID recognized it as one of the top 5 wrestling academies.
Yeah,
too,
it
so
should.
We were talking about that on the show a little bit.
You should get Seth Rollins on, man. You could talk about.
I wish.
He's a Bears fan. You should
He
get
is.
him on.
We talked. So again, Bills Dolphins preview. But if you want to hear a couple cool wrestling stories as well, make sure you listen to the show tomorrow. We already recorded it.
Very excited.
All right, let me get into this pod bag again. Joe doesn't know these questions or comments or takes from fans.
Where'd you get these from? Where'd you get these from?
You're not gonna let me get 2 sentences.
I just want to know. You like through this is.
I get them every week.
Okay, YouTube, I don't know. I don't believe you. I don't
because you don't listen to the show. You don't watch the show unless you're on it.
Exactly. But I don't believe you. I think you have your relatives write in. You're like, can you give Joe this hard question? Like I feel like you got that. You got Partham. You probably asked Sal Capaccio or Larry Felser's son or someone. People like, I know you're tilting the scale. Fake ass news over here. But anyways,
people submit questions or comments on YouTube or Twitter or email or Facebook page, and I pluck the best ones each week, read them off, and then I respond to them. If you're watching this live right now on either Facebook or YouTube, if you're watching this on Twitter, you're going to have to go to our YouTube channel if you want to be a part of the conversation. You can leave a question or a comment. I'll try to get to some of those throughout the show, and especially I'll save some for the end. But I got plenty to get to, so let's kind of dive in. Maz Vids, who is a regular watcher of this show on YouTube, one of my favorites, he had a good comparison. He says this. He goes, Keon Coleman reminds me of Terrell Owens, big, physical, boundary receiver that could threaten all 3 levels of the field. He is quickly making Brandon Beane look like a genius, and I can't imagine how good this kid is going to be in a few years once he fully grows into his body and becomes a better route runner. Good take there. I'll ask you that, man. I've never really thought of him as that kind of player, but
yeah,
what do you think?
I don't see him as T.O. T.O. was built like I guess they're both big, but T.O. was like a bodydontist. Like he could have been a professional wrestler for how cut and ripped he was. Now maybe Keon could get there at some point, but T.O. I thought was really like he broke tackles. He was a speedster. I don't know if I see
Keon breaking tackles big time.
I don't think he's breaking that, man. Not like that. I see Keon, honestly, as I know this is going to be taboo, but before he got here, I see him more of like a Kelvin Benjamin. That's kind of how I see him a little bit. But hold on, dipshit. I just said before he got here. Okay. Not here. Okay, you did watch Carolina games. I know you hated Cam Newton, but when he had 1,000-yard seasons like 4 years in a row. And like that's who he reminds me of a little bit. Like a big dude who is like he catches jump balls. He's not like breakaway speed guy, but I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit of like Kelvin Benjamin when he was good, not when he was here and he was terrible and everyone thinks he was awful for all of his career. He got awful when he got traded here. Fucking go look him up. But yeah, I see him more a little bit like that. I don't see the similarities with T.O. to be honest, because like I said, I think T.O.'s a god. Okay, if Keon's like close to that, great, but I don't see that.
I agree. I mean, a guy's 7 games into his career, but trait wise, I see a little bit of it. I never really thought of it. You said not breaking tackles is a thing. Keon Coleman has literally had a touchdown and another long play because he's broken tackles off 5-yard passes and turned them into 40-yard
plays, dude. Okay, I don't know. You're overreaching there, buddy. I don't know.
I mean, he bullied Woolen and took a touchdown from him in the end zone.
Okay, but T.O. did it like every week. Okay, like it's not.
I'm not saying he's T.O.
The guy just said he reminds him of T.O. Okay, and I just don't see T.O. Kelvin Benjamin, like Carolina Kelvin Benjamin. That's who he reminds me of.
Okay,
but
fair
thank
enough.
You for the question. Very nice.
John Sanders says, "Love Joe from Queens. Too much positivism among the Bills media and fans for my taste."
No shit. You're right about that.
All right, let's keep going here. At Ariel Grande 94 says, this is a long one, but this is a good take. I usually roll my eyes and cringe when people use the word culture. But one play exemplified that with this team. Allen hustles after throwing the pick last week and stops Job at the 5-yard line. He could have housed that interception, and Seattle would have been up 10-7, and it's a total different game. Instead, they turn the ball over on downs, and the Bills go 93 yards to score before the half. It was basically the game, but I thought it was just so fitting that Josh Allen low-key saved the game potentially on that very play where he threw his first interception of the year. Amazing sequence. Yeah, you know what? I don't know about saving the game, but that was actually, it turns out to be a big play. So Josh throws his first pick, Amari Cooper slipped some too on the play when you watch it on film. But still, he throws an interception, and sure, he could have been down on himself, not hustling to get there. Seattle scores a touchdown, and they go up. Because he tackled the guy at the 5-yard line, Seattle ended up getting no points on that. That didn't cost the Bills any points because they got the ball or they turned it over on downs. So, yeah, it's a pretty good point in it. I mean, Josh Allen's hustle saved the team 7 points because if he doesn't hustle, he brings it back to the house. And they're and they're down too. It's a good point.
I don't know if I would say that's about culture for the most part. I think it's more about Josh Allen being like a fighter and he does what he does. Like, but I mean, if you want to say it, sure. I know it seems kind of like an easy thing to translate. Like, I'm not a big culture fan, and I know that the commenter kind of mentioned that as well. Like, culture's kind of like one of those. Like, if you're good, then you can say, "What's our culture?" And then if it's bad, it's bad culture. I don't know. But yeah, look, it was a good play. Like, I don't expect anything else. Josh Allen doesn't. The guy he's a Buick when he's running the football. Like, he takes on hits. Like, he loves contact. I don't see him as being someone that gives up, like, on the field or anything like that.
He just, another thing about Josh Allen too, while we're talking about him, that really impresses me is he doesn't get too rattled. He doesn't get down on himself. The game doesn't spiral. Well, I mean, it's happened a couple times, like the opener last year in the Jets game. It spiraled for him. But generally speaking, he makes a couple egregious throws a game. He hasn't done really much of that this year, but years past. But he never buries himself and takes himself out of the game. And that's such contrast to what we just saw this past Sunday. Geno Smith's a good quarterback, but things were not going Geno Smith's way, and he got unhinged, man. He raveled. He looked like he was crying on the sideline at one point. He was so mad at himself and so frustrated. Then he got that sideline penalty where he threw the football at Dwan Smoot's head. Just things like that. Those aren't things that Josh Allen does. That's an underrated part of his game. Like the physical thing we all know about with Josh, but
he's had some games
in the game.
Yeah, but he's had some. You bitched about this in the beginning of the year, and I didn't care. But like, you complained like you didn't like his demeanor on the sidelines different times. Like, you wanted him to be more bravado, and you didn't like his commentary, like even after games. Like, he's
too reserved. Yeah, I want to see him more.
Well, I mean, if you think he's doing that now, I mean, I don't know if he is or not. I mean, I laughed when. I don't know. I think one of the Bills beat bros was trying to say like Josh Allen's a leader because he was shaking everyone's hand after the game on Sunday. And I was like, okay, I guess he never shook people's hands ever, I guess, before this season. I'm sorry. See, these questions are already pissing me off. Like, you give me on a bat, you told me to hurry up, and now I'm like a curmudgeon and like
you're definitely you're in curmudgeon territory really early on the show. I like it though. Because I keep getting you on after Bills W's. You're doing the live post-game shows with me after games, and when you beat Seattle like you did, or you beat up the Jets, or you beat the Jets, I should say, you beat up Tennessee. There's not really a lot you could say. I feel like people right now, whether you're watching this live or in demand later on, you're getting the real Joe. You're getting that Kodak timeout. Here's the real Joe from Queens tonight.
I guess I don't know. If you want to say that, sure. I'm not feeling like I wish you would have told me this earlier. I could have got my people to ask questions, but instead you were like 5 o'clock. Hey, you want to do some podcast tonight? I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything. Sure, buddy. Anyways,
look. First of all, those were good. The T.O. comparison was worthy of a conversation. The Josh Allen play, I never thought of that. That's the first time all week I really thought about that. I'm like, you know what? He did. I only thought of the interception, and I thought of the fourth down fourth down, and the guy trips over his own center. I never really thought of it that way. Like Josh Allen literally saved a touchdown Because if you don't get down the field and make that play,
no, hey,
they score.
The thing was, like, saying culture with, like, he made the tackle. I was just kind of like a little, I think it was more about him. Like, I'm not a big culture guy, but that's just me.
Sure.
We love all of our listeners, even the fat ones and the losers and the, the people who have different political leanings that I don't prefer. We love all of you.
We're not going there today.
I didn't go there. I didn't say. I just said different political leanings. That's all. Don't worry, buddy.
Let me get to the next one. This is you want the real Joe from Queens. I got a feeling this one's going to set you up. From Zippo Raid says the offense is 1,000 times better than last season. Wish we'd see more 2-back formations. That'd be sick with 3 threats available. All right. Well, the running back thing I think is pretty interesting. Having potentially Cook and Davis on the field at the same time, some things you might be able to do with both of them, like just like with Detroit from time to time. They have Montgomery and Gibbs on the field at the same time. Some nice packages there. Anyway, the offense is 1,000 times better than last season. I don't know. Are you talking about the last 6 quarters? Or are you talking about the body of work so far? Because those 2 different things to me.
1,000% more seems a little overstating it. I don't even know. Like, look, last year what were they in scoring? They were 6th in scoring last year, points for 6th. This year they are ranked 5th. So it's like you're off 1 basically. So 1,000%. It doesn't feel like. I mean, look, I think what they're better at is they're better at balance a little bit more than they last year. I think it's because of Cook has done better. I don't know how much better Dalton Kincaid is from last year's Dalton Kincaid. They kind of feel the same to me a little bit. Maybe like from how it finished, it feels like the same. Like it's good, but it's not like, oh my God, he's Travis Kelce. Like, you know what I mean? Sure. Like he still feels the same to me if you're going by individuals. Keon Coleman's very good. He surprised all of us, in terms of what he's done. Shakir's been better, I think, like than he was. I mean, he's been hurt a little bit here and there, but like when he's played, he's been really good. I think it's kind of a little bit of the same. Maybe there's a little bit. It's the Cook. I think Cook is honestly the X factor that feels different a little bit. Like he's more involved than he was last year because like he kind of had a sluggish start with Dorsey. But then when Brady came in, they were more committed to Cook. And I feel like that's carried over to this season a little bit. But it's not 1,000. Like, look, it's not that big of a difference. And the third thing is, look, if you give a shit about turnovers, I don't. I know you do because you're weird. They're much less with turnovers, obviously, than they were last year. I mean, Josh Allen has 1 interception. And last year, he had 3 in the first fucking game of the season. Yeah. So, yeah, like, those are, like, the big differences. I feel what they're kind of lacking, or what I would like a little bit more, maybe. And look, I think it will come like with Amari Cooper, but like an alpha male type, like I still think they need a little bit more bigger plays, like more like 50 yard plays. They're getting that as of late, like the last 6 quarters, as we kind of insinuated, they're getting that more. I would probably like a little bit of that. Like I felt they had that a lot last year, like a little bit more of a big play type, but that's probably it. But I feel they're, it's a toss up. If you want me to say they're better this year a little bit, sure, but I don't think it's not 1,000%. Like whatever.
Keon Coleman is becoming a big playmaker already.
I know you got him going. You got him going to the Hall of Fame and being T.O.'s understudy over here.
Yeah, 19 yards a catch this season, dude. He's been making huge plays.
Yeah, he's been good. Okay, but you got him going to the Hall of Fame already.
I need to see a little bit more of a continuation of what we've seen the last 6 quarters before I go declaring his offense great. It's been really, really good though these last 6 quarters. Again, talked about it 2 weeks ago. That touchdown pass to Cooper, from that moment on, this offense just became different. And the one thing I'll say, I agree with you 100% about James Cook. But it's also the offensive line and the blocking and the run schemes they're calling, because he didn't even play against the Jets, and Ray Davis just ran all over a good New York Jets defense. I mean, he was trucking dudes out there. So offensive line is good too. One more here, then we'll take a quick break. Stephanie says, is it most likely that the Bills don't make another trade before the deadline next week, but they eventually get Matt Milano back, which serves as their down the stretch acquisition anyway? So I guess the question is, do you think the Bills are done? Do you see them? The trade deadline's Tuesday. The salary cap, I mean, you can always make some things work. Do you think they're going to make a trade? Matt Milano coming back, hopefully no timeline, but maybe you get him back early to mid-December. That's like your trade down the stretch or your free agent acquisition, whenever you want to call it. What do you think?
I could see them moving someone off the roster. Like maybe someone calls asking for, Elam, we'll just say. Maybe they need a fourth cornerback somewhere or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I could see a guy getting moved like that. I don't see them bringing someone else in. I think they made their trade. I'm fine. Look, I'm fine. Like if they didn't make the Cooper deal, then I would have been like annoyed by it, obviously. But I'm good with that. Matt Milano, we'll see what happens with him. I know McDermott, I haven't been on Twitter that much this week, but the one thing I saw, McDermott was like, we have a plan in place or something like that. And, he's coming back.
They're hopeful.
They're hopeful, but
he's coming back. He hasn't confirmed it. It's trending that way.
Yeah.
No timeline, though. He won't give a timeline or anything like that. But
yeah, and I don't know if he's going to be. I have worries about Milano. I had him even at the end of last season with him being hurt. Like he's on the wrong side of 30. He has had a lot of wear and tear on his body. And I worry about him, like in terms of like what he's going to do. Like, look, if he's healthy, yeah, he's going to be great. But like, I don't know, man. There's a part of me that's kind of like, I'm counting on him, but I'm also like, how much gas is left in that tank? Cause I worry about he's been getting hurt.
I think he'll be better than Dorian Williams, so he'll be an upgrade.
Yes.
I like Dorian Williams. There's things to like about his game, but he's young. He makes mistakes. He misses assignments. He's not always fundamentally sound. He gets fooled in play action a lot, things like that. A lot of good traits. He's a traitsy dude, but he's not Matt Milano. So getting him back would be big. Let's stay with the trade thing, actually, before we get to a break, because there's another one. Clyde Kingsley says, if you were Brandon Beane, you could have one more before the deadline, what would you do within reason? And Trey, you don't necessarily have to come up with a player, but like, what are you addressing? What are you going to get if you can have one move within reason before the deadline? Like, you're not going and trading for Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Within reason, what are you doing if you could have one move? Where are you adding to this team? Where realistically or within reason does it need the most?
I think linebacker depth is something I would get because I don't want to rely on Matt Milano to come back. And, the Terrell Bernard, we talked about this at is he getting too hurt? Does he get banged up? I would like linebacker depth. I think I don't want to go into have another situation when we have AJ Klein coming off the couch and like in the playoffs and us praying to God. And I would say I would say you probably at this rate, look, they're 53. Their starters are their starters. Like I don't think they're gonna they don't have enough room under the cap. I feel to make really like, oh, they're gonna get a starter. You know what I mean? Like it feels like, like look, it would have to be like you have to take on like a rookie contract. It would probably have to be like, but I think realistically speaking, like you need depth, and I feel like they're a little bit thin at linebacker, like with the injury concerns for both Bernard and like, look, I don't know about you, but I'm not comfortable with Williams and Balin Spector as my two linebackers in the playoffs in case something happens to the other two I just mentioned. So I would get maybe a little bit of a linebacker and, throw them on special teams for the time being. And
that's realistic. It's feasible. It's nothing crazy. Brandon's not going to give up a huge pick.
I trade Dawson Knox. That's what I would do.
Offensive line depth could be something. I might want a veteran back there in case. The Bills have been so lucky, dude.
Yeah.
So lucky with the offensive line. They have none of last year and so far this year. Their starting five has been out there every week. I don't love their depth right now behind the starters. Alec Anderson's playing some, but still beyond that, you really got nothing there. Linebacker, you got to hope between Bernard and Milano, one of them stay healthy.
Sure.
Terrell Bernard's kind of like, he's an enigma because I think he's one of the better linebackers in the league, but the way he plays football and his size just lends to him getting injured. He's got to stay healthy. Yeah. He's a great player, but it's not doing the Bills any good if he's out every, 4 games or whatever. Safety's still a position that I want to be looking at as well.
Yes.
I think Cole Bishop he's a rookie. I don't think he's ready yet. Mike Edwards is clearly the fourth safety on this team, and he's not going to be active as long as the other guys stay healthy. And Damar Hamlin's job is just don't let anyone get behind you. Like, Damar's doing a good job of not getting beat deep. Like, he's not giving up a 70-yard touchdown, and he's fundamentally sound. I don't think he's going to. But if you're talking about one position on this team where maybe you can actually upgrade at that starting position, it might be a safety who's a little more capable of coming up and making a big hit, being better in run support, making a couple big plays. I know Damar's got 2 picks this year, but still, a safety would be a position that I would look at. But yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I think it's about I think it's about depth more than anything. Anyway, all right. On the video side, we're going to take literally a 5-second break. Be right back, and plenty more questions coming up. All right, I am back with Joe from Queens, and we are doing this week's pod bag. Your questions, your comments, your takes. We're getting to them today. Let's see here. Jazz Unlimited says, I'm honestly surprised Christian Benford isn't getting attention that he deserves. He's legitimately a top 3-5 corner in the league right now, stat-wise, and most people wouldn't name him in their top 10, 15. I agree with that. I think if the Bills keep winning, though, players start to get noticed more when your team's, one of the best teams in the conference. He's headed towards a Pro Bowl season at worst. And the way he's played so far, he warrants all-pro conversation. I don't know if he's going to get it, but I would say after Josh Allen, Christian Benford, let me ask you this. I have Christian Benford as my number 2 player on the Bills this season after Josh Allen. Would you put him that high? And if he's not that high, who would you have at number 2? These are on-the-spot questions. I like doing this.
Shut up. You're not that good. I would say maybe Rousseau would be a little bit better than him, but it's close. But I would definitely have him in the top 3. In terms of the question that, is he not getting the same recognition as everyone else? I guess 2 parts to this, or I want to ask you, what cornerbacks do you feel in the NFL get a lot of recognition?
Corners?
Yeah, like defensive back. Like, who gets a lot of
Gardner,
okay.
Diggs from Dallas.
Yeah.
Not a hell of a lot that I can think of off the top of my head anyway, but those are the 2 that pop at me when you ask me that. Ward from Cleveland, maybe. He's hurt now, though.
I think part of it is a lot of it stems from like branding and trash talking a little bit, and like your market. Like Tavon Diggs is a kind of a big personality. Same with Gardner a little bit. And I feel like that's how cornerback, maybe it's like the mindset of Deion Sanders. Like Deion Sanders I feel like Deion got so much publicity because of him he was charismatic. He was a character. You know what I mean? And like, I think sometimes that's how it works. Like big markets too. Like if you're in a big ass market, like you just named 2, Dallas, the Jets, like popular giant being big markets, I think is why. And I think, for Benford, like he's great, but like, does Benford, like, can you recall like a great Benford quote or?
No.
I'm not saying this is like a bad thing. I'm just saying like national recognition,
sure,
especially for defensive backs. I feel because defensive backs don't make giant plays that it's going to make the top 10 list on SportsCenter. You know what I mean? Because you don't throw to them. So how are you going to make the highlight? You don't. You make it if you get an interception. You get it if you make a return for a touchdown. You get it if you talk shit. And like he hasn't done that, and I think that's part of the reason why it's harder to break through in that crowd. Like Jalen Ramsey is a guy who gets a lot of recognition. Why? Because he's talked a lot of shit. He talks about
Allen trash.
Yeah, he is a quote machine, and I feel like that's branding right there, and that's what national people I feel really resonate to. So I think that's why he doesn't get like what he wants. If he came out next week and was like, I'm gonna kick Tyreek Hill's ass and he ain't getting shit on me, like he'd be on the box of Wheaties next month probably. Because that's how the world works a little bit.
No, you're right. It's more. Look, I liked Reuben Brown, but that dude made the Pro Bowl every year out of reputation. He was lousy as hell some of the years that he made the Pro Bowl. So I'm gonna.
He was also He was also talkative though. That's why he made it a lot.
He was good. He was good.
He was a fun guy, and he talked a lot in terms of that. Like he was always like a quote machine and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. All right. So David Griffin, this was from Instagram. Actually, reached out to me today. It's kind of questions more for me, but I'm going to ask you as well. Although I kind of think I know the answer with you. He says, for a future pod bag, I was wondering how your stress levels are for this season. I remember last year you said that you found it difficult to just sit back and enjoy watching the Bills. Do you still feel the same way in 2024? I remember that last year. I was complaining and saying, I'm not having fun watching these games. I'm so emotionally invested in them. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows, that it wasn't fun. And, I just wanted to sit back and try to be a fan more this year. It's too early. The answer to that question is, have I been enjoying them more? Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I think it's because it's still September and October, to be honest with you. Like, I was pretty up for that Houston game, brought out a lot of anger in me, and the Jets win was the highest of the highs. Like I said, I was really hyped for that game. Kind of needed it more than I enjoyed it. As being having a kid now, it's kind of changed. Like, how much you get angry when the Bills lose, is shit the bed or something. See, I got kids, but my kids are goddamn adults now, man.
Sure.
I can't use that as an excuse. I'm not putting them in fuck that big picture perspective shit. I still get pissed off.
I wasn't as optimistic about the Bills as you were, and I think it's helped me because I thought they were going to be like, I picked them to go 9-8, which, like, that's a pretty shitty prediction. And I think sometimes when you lower your own expectations and they exceed that, it's much easier to follow them. Like, I didn't have Super Bowl aspirations. I was like, I think they're taking a step back, a transition year, all that shit that Brandon Beane said. So it's been fine this year. Like, I was more stressed out like the last couple of years, I would say, because I thought they were knocking on the door, and like there were things I needed them to do, and they didn't do it. And this year, look, credit to them, they got Amari Cooper, and like, I wasn't thrilled with this wide receiver room, and they've been better, obviously, and it's been a little bit better. Like, I'm not saying that they're like, on Sunday there were a bunch of Bills bro beats who were like, oh, we're the people who were haters and all that. And I was like, okay, guys, like, take it easy. They beat Seattle, like, and I'm not going to sit there and go into oh my God, like I was completely wrong. Like, yeah, I was wrong, but there's still a lot of football left. And I want it to be like it wasn't, the evidence to me before the season was there because of like the transition, because there were a lot of unknown players, and I didn't give them the amount of respect. And I don't think there was much evidence.
We ranked new guys 25th. We ranked the Bills receiving room 25th before the season. And I thought it was justified at the time. But now they got Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
now
they're better.
Khalil Shakir knows his role and is excelling at it, and Keon Coleman has grown. He's has become a wide receiving room. Curtis Samuel's the fifth receiver and has done nothing this year, but he's still the fifth receiver on this team right now, man. Maybe fourth. Him or Mac, whatever. Who cares?
Who knows?
They're 4 and 5 with. They should be 4 and 5. That's my point. Curtis Samuel was the number 2 receiver to most people, including me and you, going into the season. So, I mean, night and day different. But yeah, anyway, to answer the question, I still do. I try to enjoy it more, but I'm sure as the season goes on, I can't, man. Football means way more to me, I guess, than it should.
It does to me. Like, it's tough this year for personal reasons because, like, I think I alluded to this before. Like, with a kid, it's we don't have screen time, so like I'm kind of watching the game while my wife is watching the kid to make sure the kid's not watching the game, and then sometimes we split up and I'll watch the kid, and then I have to wait till he goes to bed and rewatch the game. So part of that is kind of a little bit of I'm not vested as much as I normally am when I'm watching, because I'm watching the baby or I'm watching the game and I'm making sure my wife can see the game too. It's a long story, but from a personal perspective, I still do believe like me lowering expectations has helped my viewing a little bit because they've exceeded them so far.
No, that's fair. All right, let me get to Colleen. I'm gonna read this one. This is live here in the comments. Big, well-known Dawson Knox fan. She goes, I'm so upset about when people talk bad about Dawson Knox. He's coming back full force, mark my words, 88. And it's not just because I love him as a player. He's just a good person all around. Tell you what, he had 2 catches, 50 yards on Sunday. Look, the one thing I will say in defense of Dawson Knox is the contract that a lot of Bills fans will blast him over. That ain't his fault. Should he not get paid when he gets the opportunity? He had 2 good seasons. He got paid. The contract looks terrible now. They drafted a tight end in the first round. He's, to me, Dawson Knox, and I don't say this even disrespectfully about him. Dawson Knox, to me, Curtis Samuel. I got my guys. I got Kincaid, Coleman, Cooper, Shakir. I need those guys. I need Cook. Guys like Ray Davis. Well, I don't even want to throw Ray Davis in there because he's becoming a regular part of the team. But Dawson Knox, Curtis Samuel, go give me a couple plays here and there when I need a couple plays. That's my realistic expectation from you. Again, 2 catches for 50 yards in Seattle. I'll take that every week. For your backup tight end?
You're not going to get that every week, though.
No, you're not. You're not going to get that every week.
Look, I'm sorry, Colin.
Him and Curtis Samuel. That's what I'm saying. Those are the kind of guys that I think not every week, but they'll make some plays, and that's all you really can ask from them at this point.
I appreciate Colleen's comment. Dawson Knox has 29 catches since Dalton Kincaid has been drafted. That's covering 20. They're 6-2 right now. It's covering 25 games. He's barely having a catch a game. I think Dawson Knox's career here ended when they drafted him. Like it kind of like in terms of being like a
critical part of the team, and an
it just and
part of the offense.
Who knows? Like I don't know what happened. Like I think maybe they originally wanted to play 12 personnel all the time, and then it just didn't work out. So they're doing 3 wide receivers, and they're trying to kind of balance it. Like he's still getting between like 40 and 50% of the snaps. It's just not a lot, and he's blocking.
Played the same amount of snaps Sunday.
Yeah, like it's it's just I just feel like if he wants to get more catches, it has to be when Dalton Kincaid's not playing, or he has to do it somewhere else.
Sure.
But like contract wasn't great, but I think when they gave it to him, they probably, they didn't plan on like when they gave it to him, like, hey, we're gonna draft another tight end. And I still to this day wonder if that was like a Dorsey, like Dorsey said, I need a tight end. We need to play, because they tried to do the OJ Howard thing and that didn't work out. And maybe he was like, I need another tight end to make this offense work. And then they got it, and maybe him leaving kind of hurt both. I don't know, but the whole thing is kind of. I don't think they were thinking like when they gave that contract out, like you're going to get 1 to 2 catches a game. And
I agree. Well, the good news for Dawson Knox fans is he ain't going nowhere next year either, because the way his contract is structured,
he's Josh's best friend forever, man. He's here forever.
Hey, man, make a couple big catches here and there, and that's all you need. You don't need him to have 4 catches for.
They can still cut him. Like they're not going to be as crazy with the cap, even if they get dead money. Like don't get too wrapped them. I bet you they cut him. No, I bet you $1 right now. Betting you $1 they cut him right now.
They're not cutting
him. They will cut him next year.
It would be financially stupid to cut him. They're going to cut him
but the cap is still bullshit.
Who's the backup tight end then? They would lose money to cut him. They would literally lose money to cut him.
Yeah,
it would be like. They got rid of Stephon Diggs and they ate money to do it. They're not going to do that with Dawson Knox.
So they're not going to do that with him, but they would do it. But I don't know. They've done that before. Excuse me. How much dead money was there for the other guys when Mitch Morris got cut or Trey White got cut? There was still dead money there. It was you're acting like they
but you saved cap money when you cut those guys. You ate dead money,
but you still ate some. Okay, I don't know.
They're not saving.
I am betting you $1 he gets cut.
We'll discuss that in February.
Colleen remembered me that, and let me know in March, so Pat doesn't forget that bet.
She won't let you forget. I can tell you that right now. All right, Carter says, halfway through the season, how are we feeling about the 2024 draft class? All right, well, let's just think real quick. Keon Coleman has been exceeded expectations. Cole Bishop has been very slow. He hasn't really done anything at all. Ray Davis has been really good. And who's the other guy that's escaping me right now?
Carter.
Dwayne Carter, he's on IR right now, but he's played good early. Javon Sullivan has like 1 or 2 sacks already. So he's on the team and he's getting some looks. So all in all, not having a first-round pick halfway through rookie year, very good. Very good returns.
I had no idea he was on IR. This is how much parenting has destroyed my life. I had no idea Dwayne Carter was on IR.
Yeah, he missed the last game. Yeah,
I know he missed the last game. I didn't know he went on IR though. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, 4 weeks. Hopefully 4 weeks. But yeah, he had a wrist issue. But yeah, he stepped up when that Oliver went down.
He did. He made some good splash plays a couple of those games. Yeah. Coleman's really surprised me. It's funny because this is how much preseason is bullshit. I'm going to pull the preseason take out. The preseason training camp, like it felt like it was up and down for Keon Coleman. Like he got the hype in the beginning, then all of a sudden it was like he got erased. Like he's not doing much. He's not doing looks good in camp. He doesn't look good in games. True. And then like everyone like kind of wrote him off. I wrote him off because I was stupid and I listened to all the Bills beat bros and all the bros and the content bros. And I was like, maybe he's not going to do anything this year. And I had previously in July, if you would ask me, I'm like, he's going to play a lot because they want to justify. My whole reasoning was they want to justify the fucking Diggs trade and they want to show like they have the guy, and he looks like the guy so far. And speaking of preseason, let me get you another preseason hot take. Who was the other star of preseason and training camp? Do you remember?
Tyrell Shavers.
No. There's another guy. And I mentioned him earlier in the podcast.
Buffalo
Elam.
Joe.
No, him too, but Elam. Elam was supposed to be like, he's gonna play. He was so good in training.
I never said that shit.
You probably did. Colleen, go find footage of Pat saying that because I know you did. But all the Bills beat bros, the content bros, they were like, he's gonna be a big part of this team this year because look at how good he is in camp. I haven't seen him since the Miami game. They did say that. There's tweets out there.
They got one of the top 5 corner tandems in the NFL.
The point is, you're right. But the point is, training camp was bullshit. Once again, I am always right. You never believe training camp. You never believe in the OTAs. It's bullshit. And I'm going to remind you that next year when you're doing 75 podcasts about Buffalo Joe or whoever the hell is the new guy they got to do next year. And I'm like, Pat, this is bullshit. It's not going to matter. Everyone's going to forget about it. And I'm going to be like, la, 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 la. And I'm going to ask for vacation, and that's it.
I almost dread. I'm not good. Somebody wants to know in the comments who's the worst content bro. Who's the worst content bro?
That's like
that's a whole podcast for Joe
like,
anyway.
That's like picking between that's like picking between Ramsey Bolton and Joffrey of like I can't answer that.
You say that. That's ironic you say that because there's a question coming up in a few, but yeah.
But yeah, that's a tough one. The content bros, they all kind of share the same brain. I do like Bruce Exclusive, Almighty, whatever the fuck his name is. I don't, he's very articulate. I give Bruce credit for that. I don't know why he has to be incognito. Like, is he an FBI agent? Is he
it's the gimmick, man? It's like wrestling. Think of a wrestler. Right. He's living the gimmick.
Okay. All right, fine. He's Kane, I guess, before Kane became a crazy mayor. Yes, I guess that's his gimmick. But I don't mind him as a content bro. Let me tell you who I don't hate. Greg Thompson's okay, a little bit of a know-it-all, but I don't have him muted where everyone else on that platform and that site, Cover One, I have muted. But yeah, but Greg, he has not had the mute button yet from me yet. So yeah, that's it. All the Cover One, all the train wreck guys are muted except Parthon. I didn't even know he was a train wreck guy, and he just went down on my list. Who else is there? I don't really know about the John Fina Ostrowski crew that much. Am I missing anyone else? Yeah.
Well, just about, again, we could have a whole podcast. I got to get to some other questions, right? We're gonna have a whole entire podcast about who Joe doesn't like in the media. But at least you kind of own it, though. By the way, Colleen's back to hating you. Just want to put that out there too.
Why? What'd she say about me? What happened?
This is why I hate Joe, because she's Mrs. Dawson Knox, and you're hating on
look,
the man.
I'm being honest. Look, I hope he does well. If you want the best for Dawson Knox's stats, he has to probably do it somewhere else. I'm sorry.
Stat-wise, sure.
Or Dalton Kincaid needs to break a leg, and he needs to come back into the good graces, and that's it. Right. I'm sorry, but he killed a Bengal that one time. It's good times.
All right, so let's move on here. I want to get to a handful more of these. Jordan says, if your favorite team in whatever sport it may be gets to the championship round but gets swept or gets blown out in, like, saying, the Super Bowl, how much does that erase all the joy and celebration of your team getting there that season? So say we'll use the Bills. If you're a Bills fan and they get to the Super Bowl, but they lose to San Francisco 45-3 in the Super Bowl, or if you're a Yankees fan, get to the World Series and, you get swept in the World Series, whatever, something like that. How much does the stink of having, ending in disaster, how much does that weigh on you enjoying the season as a whole, celebrating the season as a whole.
It depends on who the team is and how much of a history they have. Like if you're New England, let's just say you're the Patriots and you go to this and you get blown out. Like, would I care? No, I got 7 rings. Like, wouldn't I'll be like, oh, it was a good season. They lost. But you still have 7 rings.
Sure.
If you're a team that's desperate or if you're a team that's been terrible forever, like let's just say Detroit. We'll just say Detroit because Detroit's been bad for as long as humanly possible. They were great last year, and then maybe they go to the Super Bowl this year. It doesn't erase it because you've always been a little bit like of a, you've had a bad history in terms of that, and I don't think that would kill it. I will say this though, when I was younger, and the Bills got obliterated by the Cowboys in that first Super Bowl, I remember being like, I don't care about the regular season. Like, I've seen this before. Like, they lost the 3rd straight Super Bowl. And I was like, who cares about this regular season? Like, they fucking got obliterated. They lost again. And, like, I was over it. Like, there was no, like, oh, yeah, this was great. Like, what a great regular season. Like, they came back after injuries and the no punt game happened. Like, at that moment, I was like, F this. I was done. And I came back. But, like, there's those moments where part of that was because they had lost 2 straight Super Bowls. And I was like, hey, can you win one once in our lives? And then it was like they got obliterated in that game. So, it depends on the situation. But I would say overall, it shouldn't. But if you're a team that's been knocking on the door constantly and then you blow it and you get obliterated in the title game,
if I could tell you on this stupid Halloween holiday right now that the Bills are going to get to the Super Bowl and they're going to get decimated by the Detroit Lions.
I would take that. I would take that. It would be disappointing how it ends.
I would too.
It would be disappointing how it ends.
Agreed. I would take it.
God, I would not want to do that podcast for after that game.
A blowout loss in the Super Bowl.
Oh God, that would be. I would be in fucking.
It would suck. It would eventually.
Do not call me for that.
It would take some time to
get a train wreck guy on there for that.
To get over that, it would be painful. Mm-hmm. But the memory, the week or 2 weeks, I don't know if there's a bye before the after the AFC Championship or not this year, but that part would be. The energy would be, I shouldn't say unprecedented. For a lot of younger people, it would be, though, if you're a Bills fan, because you never experienced 4 Super Bowls like you and I did before. So we've kind of been there through that before. Let me kind of give you a 2-for-1 here. We can knock 2 of these off with 1. Utron 9000 says, I'm glad someone is raising concerns. I had a show yesterday with Matt Warren. The entire episode was playing devil's advocate. We were kind of going over some things about the Bills that aren't good even at 6-2. Anyway, he says, we've been too up in the clouds as a fan base. Our real record is 0-2 because those are the teams that will be in the playoffs that we faced, and we were trash. The upside is that the team is coasting and should continue to improve, but realistically, this team isn't as good as 2021 or even 2020. It looks to be a first or second round team again. That's the first one. Okay, I guess. Whatever. Here's the next one. Bruno says, if the Bills make the AFC Championship game, who would you like to least see them play right now? If you have to play a team right now in the AFC Championship that you want to face the least, who you got?
I would not want to face Baltimore. I know you're going to tell me Lamar Jackson's had bad post seasons. That's great. There are quarterbacks who have had bad postseasons games, and then they hit it. Peyton Manning used to be one of those guys. Like his first 3-4 post, his 3-4 first games of his career in the postseason, he wasn't very good, and then it lit up and it was over. Lamar Jackson has only played in 4 or 5 playoff games. It hasn't been a lot. Yeah, 6.
2 and 4 in those games.
Yeah, he's 2 and 4. Look, he was good in the divisional ground last year against the Texans. He was really good, and then he stunk it up against the Chiefs. I can't deny that. And he wasn't good against the Bills. And was he good against the game before he played the Bills in the playoffs? I think they played the Titans, if I remember correctly. And
they won ugly too.
Yeah, it was ugly. He definitely needs it, but I think the cream always rises to the top if you're a great quarterback, and he will eventually get over that. But that team just is a matchup nightmare as of right now for me. Like from looking at them, it's a matchup nightmare. The Chiefs are probably second, and it's mostly because of the ghosts of the Chiefs. But at the same time, hey, There were ghosts. I always bring up New England Colts in the early 2000s where the Colts couldn't beat the Patriots. And then finally, like after like the third postseason game that they all played against each other, the Colts finally got them. So maybe like they're due, even though last year kind of felt they were due the Bills and they lost. But, you know, that would be it. I mean, I think Houston, which did scare me, they got so many bad injuries right now. Losing Diggs for the whole year, you know, that's a bad loss.
They're not. They're good. They're good, but they're not. They're. I'm not afraid of them. Not afraid.
I mean, even though they look, I think the injuries are catching up.
Yeah,
I think the injuries, like, look, they had a kick-ass wide receiving core, and they still have, like, you know, when guys get back, they could, you know, if Nico Collins gets back at some point, it will be better. But yeah, I'm not
sure.
It's not as bad. I keep telling you, man, one team I don't want to play, and you can laugh at me all you want. I think the Chargers would be a bad matchup for the Bills. I'm not saying that the Bills would lose to them. I think the Bills would beat them, but I think it would be a lot closer game where I think everyone would talk shit for the whole week and be like, oh, we're going to wipe the floor off these guys. That's a wild card team I do not want to play. I think they would be a matchup nightmare for them.
Nah.
Okay, Colleen, write that note down of how Pat just gave me the tongue and like, oh, it's not going to happen.
Not that. Look, I would say Baltimore, but I'm going to take into account the fact that Harbaugh doesn't coach that good in the playoffs either. Like, everyone hates McDermott, because Harbaugh won one, but he makes a lot of mistakes.
Okay,
dude, he does. Trust me, his record in the playoffs is not that fucking good.
Pat, they made it to the NFC Championship 3 years in a row. They made it to the Super Bowl. But you just said his playoff record is bad.
They get the top seed. They get the top seed. They get to the championship game. And they play
so he's not. Okay,
what was the question? Who would you be afraid to play the least?
I just told you.
I'm not afraid to play a team that loses in the championship every year, has a losing pedigree in the championship. Lamar Jackson plays like shit in the playoffs. Okay. I would much rather play that than Kansas City. Kansas City would be my pick because they've done it. The Bills the Bills find a way to make you lose. They make you make mistakes. Chiefs ain't making no mistakes. You're going to have to beat them. Baltimore will beat themselves when it matters.
Isn't there, with the Chiefs, though, it has to end? Like, no team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls.
Like, I'm saying this year, dude.
I know, but I'm saying, like, doesn't evolution say, like, it has to kind of chill? And Steve Noble, Chargers defense is elite. I agree with Joe on this. Thank you, Steve. Okay. And they run the football really well. So screw you, Pat Moran.
I'm not saying I respect.
No, you're like, oh, they're going to beat him 55-0 because Harbaugh's coach is bad in the playoffs, even though he went to 3 straight title games.
Let me get to a couple more of these before we have to get out of here. I do have still in the live section a couple Bills ones that I want to get to, but I got a couple non-Bills ones. Take a quick little turn here.
Give him some water over here.
Not Bernie Dawson. We'll get to that in a second. Now, Tina says, who would you have from the Sabres drought era if you could add one player to this current team? If you could take one player, we got to kind of get through these quick here. But if you could take one player from like the drought, which has been going on for 13 years now, and you could add him to this current Buffalo Sabres team, who would you add?
I'm just going to pick the best player that was there during that time frame. There's 2 that come to mind. It's either Eichel or Vanek, like I would say, between those 2. Like Vanek was there like for part of the drought. You know, what was he for like 3-4 seasons? But it would probably be Eichel. Like, give me another center. Because right now their second center is like Krebs and Dylan Cousins, and Dylan Cousins is kind of feels a little lost a little bit. But
sure.
I would go Eichel, even though he's a taint. I would go Eichel.
I would go neither of them. Good picks though.
Who would you go then?
Sam Reinhart.
Okay.
Well, 57 goals last year. He could play wing.
That is a lot. Center. Yeah.
He put him on that second wing or second line right now. They could use the guys that you said just as much as well too. And there was one poking fun at the Sabres, which is actually accurate though. At Jermaine Sands 91 says, looks like we're going to get to continue the who's the worst team in all of sports debate, the New York Jets or the Buffalo Sabres. They're tied for the longest drought in major sports. The Jets certainly look like they're going to be the first one to get to 14. The question is, do the Sabres get to 14 as well? Yeah, dude, the Jets are just a bad organization. That is just awful.
Well, the Sabres are a bad organization too.
Yeah, the Sabres are terrible too. You think of the guys, not going to get into it tonight, but yeah, all you just mentioned, Eichel. I mentioned Reinhardt. These guys leave, they go win cups, man.
Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, just goes on and on and on. So it's just that's crazy here.
Yeah.
You know what's fun? You already answered this question. Bernie Dawson had said Joe doesn't seem to like many people in the media. Who's his favorite local and national media guy? Quickly.
Ooh.
Who's your favorite local guy? Who's your favorite national media guy?
Local would have to be probably, I would say maybe Tim Graham, because he gives me something like he digs. He'll give me something I didn't know. I know everything, so no one's telling me anything I don't know. He tells me stuff like with his, like, he has sources. I give him credit for that. I like his podcast too. It's between him. Yeah, I would say him. I don't know. I kind of like Jeremy White a little bit. Like, I think I always kind of listen to the first hour of his morning show when I'm fucking changing diapers. Those two, I would say, kind of are in there. I like the WGR guys, like the hosts for the most part. I think they're kind of good. The main host. I don't really know much about DiBiase. I mean, he's kind of newer, but he seems okay. There's some things he's a little bit like off, but whatever. I don't have any, like, I don't hate him. National wise, oh God, I don't even know, to be honest with you. You know, I'm a sucker for First Take, which is garbage television. And I kind of like Stephen A. Smith. I'm sorry.
Guilty pleasure, man.
He's a guilty pleasure of mine, and I like him. He just makes me laugh. Like if you go in there going, this is all fake. Like, kind of like with wrestling. Like, I know wrestling's fake. Like, I know it's predetermined, but once you get past that, it's fun. It's great to watch. That's how I kind of view Stephen A. little bit. Like, he's just a character, and that's it. Like, I like how he trolls Dallas. I like when Mad Dog is on, Chris Russo. He's a crazy New Yorker. I kind of think I got a kick out of those two, but I don't really listen to too many national people. Like, that's kind of like I watch them maybe for like 20 minutes a day, kind of between my kids' nap. But that's it. But sorry, it took a while. I know you said hurry up. Two
more questions here, and then I got actually a couple of quick Bills notes from the live comments, but these are two non-Bill. Your favorite Elite Randy 01, your favorite all-time TV villain. And again, I didn't prepare you for these, so some of these are kind of like on the fly here, but your favorite, off the cuff anyway, your favorite all-time TV villain. Now, I've had the advantage of being able to think on this all day.
You're a prick. So why don't you go first then, so I can figure this out?
Mine is, well, there's a lot of candidates. You mentioned Game of Thrones earlier, but actually mine might be Cersei Lannister, believe it or not. Wow. She was kind of like nuanced, dude. She had a lot of like, she was always evil and terrible, but she had kind of like moments of tenderness with her kids anyway, her family, humanity. Sure. And then as her kids started getting killed off and dying, like that went away. And then she just became an absolute pure evil monster. But she was great TV, dude. Her acting was unbelievable. Her facial expressions. So I might, maybe tomorrow I'll come up with someone else. But right now, I would say Cersei.
Here's the question I have for villain, though. Are we talking like a villain that's like has a lot of layers to them? Like Cersei's has a lot of layers to her. Like, woman, you're like, oh, I feel bad for her. The next you want to strangle her. Or are we talking about like,
I like Tony
someone
Soprano.
Like someone I want to boo and hate forever, like Iron Sheik heel. Like what do you want? What are you talking about?
Heel. Iron Sheik heel.
Iron Sheik heel. Joffrey. Fucking hated Joffrey on Game of Thrones. Fucking hated him. Brutal. I wanted him to. Anytime I watched that show so many times, like repeats, I would still want to fucking kill him, even if I knew like, oh, he's about to be a dick to Sansa. I was like, someone fucking kill this fucking twerp. Sorry, I swore like 5 times. I know I'm not supposed to swear, but Joffrey was a great villain. I thought he was the best TV villain in terms of I cannot wait till this dude dies. And it did pay off. Spoiler.
That's a good answer. All right. So real quick here. Chooch, we were talking about national people. Chooch chimed in and said Jim Rome. Steve agreed with me about the former Sabre, and he said Sam Reinhart. All right. This is the last question I got. Like I said, then I got 1 or 2 things in the comments. But Bryce Road 02, an athlete and or a celebrity that's left you starstruck that you've met, or if you haven't, somebody who would leave you starstruck if you did meet them.
that I met. I've
Or
met a
if you
couple.
haven't,
I don't know. That's a tough one. I've met some celebrities because of work. Like I met Nas once. I met Green Day once for work. I always had, huh?
That's not starstruck material there.
Green Day? Oh, come on, dude. Green Day's pretty. They're fucking like going up there in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
If Green Day came up to me and said, "Hey, you want my autograph?" I'd be like, "No, I'm good, man."
Okay, well, it's Green Day. I'm like, that's you though. That's you. Like, it's Green Day. Yeah, I don't get starstruck, to be honest with you. I probably in my younger days, I used to have the biggest crush ever on Britney Spears. I just thought I had it in my mentality because like the first job I ever got was on MTV. And I was like, I'm gonna meet Britney Spears. I'm gonna get her to date me. Like this is what I was 22 and I was in shape and I was a chiseled man and I had abs and I was like, I'm gonna get her to date me. Like now it's stalkerish, but I'm like, I can get her to date me. I think I can. That I probably would have been starstruck the most. And then she shaved her head and I was like, okay, you're crazy. I don't like that anymore. I did like her at the end when she kind of got a little normal. Now she's crazy, but I still love her. She's the best. But like at that time, like 22, 23-year-old me for Britney Spears, I was definitely starstruck for her if I had met her. But anyone I've met, like I just told you, it's been brief encounters, but I wasn't like, oh, hey, like there's been different moments. I have a lot of like really random, like my favorite one, I know you told me to hurry up, but too bad. My favorite run-in was I saw Jay McKee at a bar once, and this guy that I was talking to hit on Jay McKee's wife, and Jay McKee was not happy with that at all, and almost like beat the crap out of the guy I was with, and Jay McKee kind of got in my face a little bit, like who's this guy? And I'm like, dude, I just talked to this guy like 5 minutes ago. I used to work with. I don't know anything what's going on.
I'm under the bus, man.
I'm out of here. Like that was a fun encounter. But that's like,
I was starstruck once with sports. All the way back, like in early 2000s, I was
Joe Macy.
No. Come on. I was what? I was covering the Bills. I like Joe Macy, but I'm starstruck. He's from Buffalo. He grew up. Everybody knows. He
was going to train you for the Dante Whitner brawl that never happened.
He was. God. He reached out. He was willing to help me train. It was going to be a fun little skit we were going to do. But anyway, I was covering the Bills in the early 2000s, and this was like before the internet. I was on hold before blogs and shit like that became a thing. No local rag newspapers. You get credentials. Anyway, I was covering the Raiders. It was Drew Bledsoe's first year. So was that 2002?
I remember that game. Yeah, too.
Well,
they lost
anyway,
49-31. Go ahead.
Yes. And after the game, I interviewed, well, I guess you could call it an interview technically, Jerry Rice. I was shitting my pants. Literally. I was young. No real experience, and I'm standing in front of a dude who's the greatest wide receiver in the history of football, arguably maybe the greatest player at that time ever to play football. And I was literally shitting I don't even remember what I asked him, but it was really stupid, and like words were fumbling out of my mouth. I was just completely starstruck by him. Just young and inexperienced. Had no business being in a NFL press box. Probably don't have any business being there now either, and I'm old. But this was when I was young, and yeah, it was embarrassing. But it was completely because I was completely starstruck. So that's the only one I could think of. I don't get starstruck by sports people anyway. Not anymore.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, I went to school for broadcasting, and like they kind of teach you at a young age not to be like fanboyish or anything like that. And I kind of put that in my head. And I've covered morning skates when I was an intern back in Buff State. Like I covered the Sabres. I interviewed Marty Baron, and I was like, whatever, like, hey, here's a question. And like they told you should. I was fine. I wasn't
right. Let me get to I was gonna say, let me get to a couple comments here on the way out from people who were just leaving comments throughout the show too. Steve said, Keon Coleman is a football student and he is putting in the work to get better. I buy that. Yo, by the way, didn't even talk about this week. Well, because we did a post game and we didn't get a chance to really sink our teeth into the game. And I watched the film the next day. Keon Coleman had that nice touchdown. He had nice catches. The blocking was more impressive. He was knocking dudes on his ass. He had the highest. He had a 90.8 PFF run blocking grade. That might be the highest grade I've ever seen a wide receiver have in a game. He was literally knocking dudes on their ass, man.
No.
Anyway, so a lot to look forward to with him.
Can I ask you a question?
I'm
sorry. Go ahead with
No,
Colleen.
go ahead. No, go ahead. Ask the question.
Real quick with PFF. Have there been any player grades that you're like, how the hell did they grade this guy that
all
high?
The time.
All the time. It's all the time.
High or low. Last year, Tyrell Dodson. I'm like, Tyrell Dodson was a nice little linebacker for the Bills, but he was like the 4th or 5th highest graded linebacker in the NFL last year. I'm like, what?
Jeez. Oh
David Edwards this week had a complete shit grade for the Seattle game. I thought he played great. Joe Muscalia talked him up on his column, his All-22 film.
Sure.
So, yeah, you got to take it for what it's worth. But in this case, I mean, sometimes the film just matches. And Keon was just knocking dudes out. Colleen, This was going back to our Bills-Detroit Super Bowl scenario. I live in Michigan, and my entire in-law families are Detroit fans. So how do you think I'm going to feel on that day? It's not going to be fun. Now, I'll tell you what, though. Bills-Detroit would be a fun-ass Super Bowl to watch. The country, two teams that absolutely, I think the rest of the league loves. Like Buffalo, Detroit, two teams that I'm sure a lot of people around the league are rooting for. And then John Sanders said, I've got the Steelers, Bengals, and Chargers for the 3 wildcard spots. You know what's funny? We keep talking about Baltimore as the 2 seed and 1 seed. They're not even in first place in their own division right now. Pittsburgh is somewhat for real, man. So I guess. I mean,
I don't know. Like Russell Wilson hasn't shit the bed yet, but they haven't really played like who they played, the Colts they played since Russell Wilson got back, they played the Giants, and I forgot who the team was the first week. Anyway, who was it? Whatever.
I don't remember.
I mean, we'll see. Like the Steelers seem to be like they have a lot of good parts to them, but they've always had issues at quarterback. Like they have a good they got Watt, they got some good skill guys. Tomlin's kind of like, I don't know. He's like the Sean McDermott of the NFC North, probably a little bit but he doesn't gamble, like go for it on 4th down, like McDermott does. I don't know.
You want me to leave you with the great take here? This is going to be a great take. This is such a solid take by me.
Oh, God.
The Pittsburgh Steelers right now with Russell Wilson at quarterback are what the New York Jets were hoping they would be with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Zach Wilson sucked, and the object was just to get decent quarterback, and with good skill position players and a really good defense, the Jets were going to be a great team. The Pittsburgh Steelers right now, first with Fields, and now especially with Russell Wilson, they got playmakers on offense. They got a great defense. The quarterback just needs to be decent, and he is. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good team. They're not. No, I mean, I like the Chargers too. I was fucking with you earlier. I like the Chargers. I don't think they're better than Buffalo, but the Steelers.
Well, I don't.
Nobody talks about the Steelers whatsoever as any kind of contender. They got a great team, and if they get competent quarterback play, they're right there in the mix. Just like the Jets, we thought they were going to be, but Aaron Rodgers is ass. And Russell Wilson's not.
I don't think that's a great take, but yes.
That's a brilliant take. What are you kidding me?
It's not brilliant. It's fine. Like, it's rightish, sure. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the Steelers. I'm curious to see what happens with the Colts with Flacco there now. Like, if Flacco plays like he did at the end of last year, I'm curious to see how the Colts are going to do. You know, because the Colts have a lot of talent there. The guy got a lot of good skill guys. It'll be interesting to see how he does with them, if he's got anything left in Cinderella's shoe with him. But, yeah, it's a fun time. Are we done? Oh, no, we got more.
No, dude. This was the first one of the day, and he's the one who mentioned it. He goes, Terrell Owens had 329 yards on 19 catches and 2 touchdowns in his first 7 games. Let's not pretend that Owens was some Greek god or elite receiver in his rookie year.
Sir, you're going back to 1996, which is basically like that's a totally different era. Okay, come on. Yes, I can definitely you can't do rookies past 6 games thing. I'm just saying the body of work. If I look at him and I look at T.O., they don't look
about
the
his
same
traits?
to me.
They don't look the same to you.
No,
he doesn't physically look. That's fair.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I'm telling you, he is Kelvin Benjamin from Carolina before Kelvin Benjamin became shitty Kelvin Benjamin.
I think he's a lot quicker than Kelvin Benjamin was.
Go watch some highlights later tonight. Go watch some highlights.
I always thought I was thinking T. Higgins. That's who I was thinking originally. Like, that's what I could see him.
I'd have to see more of T. Higgins. Kelvin Benjamin always felt like very like. That's a different style because he was like a big, like he could have been a tight end. He was a big dude. He had good jump balls. He had okay speed. I don't know. That's kind of like that's kind of what Coleman reminded me of when with Carolina.
All right. That's gonna do it for the show. I like doing this though. This is different than, like I said, doing a post game. You get a chance to kind of talk about a lot of different
Yeah,
things.
I mean, look, I would love,
You get
I
people
would,
involved.
I would totally do a pod. The what the fuck's this called? The pod bag. I would do a pod bag with you after the season. Like, I would love to do this and interact. I like interacting with people, even the ones I hate. I'll interact with, and there's no one I hate on this chat. Everyone's been very nice. Everyone should go out and vote. By the way, I won't say what party, because Pat wants every listener known to man, and if you like certain politics, he wants you to still listen to this podcast, so I can't talk shit. But go out there and vote.
Everyone should vote. I agree. Yeah.
Oh God, I don't even want to know who you voted for. But actually, I think I do know who you voted for, but I still don't want to, because. But yes, everyone should vote. Your rights are on the line or whatever. You get a cool sticker depending on where you live. I get a Halloween sticker here because New York is awesome, and that's it. So go out and vote, even if you vote for someone that sucks.
All right, I agree with you there. Everyone should
actually. That's
vote.
A lie. Don't vote. Don't vote if you're gonna vote for someone that sucks. That's it. No.
I will be back again. One more episode for this week on Friday. I'm going to have a man from Finsiders, Bills, Dolphins previews, bowl predictions, keys to victory, all that fun stuff on the show tomorrow.